Hey, everyone out there. So glad that you are joining us live this evening. With me is the way better half of my life, the one and only, the most beautiful woman ever, Carissa.
Okay. Hello, everyone.
Love her to death. Glad that you're here. So this is going to be, in my opinion, in my hopes, a really, really fun time. We're going to talk about parenting, and I have invited 4 couples from Austin Oaks Church to talk about the highs, the lows, the fun, the struggles, and everything else that goes with parenting in this new season with new dynamics. But before we invite our guests this evening, I wanted to do a few quick announcements. First of all, thank you, everyone, for providing those items and materials for Clint Small. We were able to do that, and today we brought everything kind of in. And tomorrow we're packing, we're going to start the delivery and all that kind of stuff. And so thank you so much. God is moving in that. And so super, super proud of you guys as a church for stepping up. Great things are going to come from that. And I love the fact that we're able just to bless a school that needs a lot of love. Okay. So as we know, this is Holy Week. And one of the things that we've been challenging folks since Sunday is to share your story. We talked about it at church on Sunday. I shared an instruction video. And so I want to encourage you. We are asking our church, and we're throwing out this challenge, that there'll be 500 personal stories of transformation out on social media this week, okay? So what I want to do is I'm going to share my screen real quick, and I want you to see this, okay? If you were to go to, hey, look, all of our guests are on screen. Surprise! But they're all muted. So anywho, if you go to our YouTube channel, Austin Oaks Church, there's this fun little thing right here called Share Your Story. Click on that. It will give you the instructions on how to get ready to share your story on social media this week, okay? I want to encourage you to do that. Be bold, be brave, do it, invite friends and families into that, okay? So it's going to be a great, great, great thing to do. So here's our lovely panel of guests. Oh, you're all unmuted, by the way, just so you know. I was going to do this grand entrance thing, and I didn't realize that by pushing that button, it would brought you all up. So good thing that you didn't do anything awkward. Otherwise, we would have been one of those viral Zoom things. So I'm glad you guys didn't do that. So for all of our viewers, hey, if you have any questions you want to ask these folks, not us, we're off limits. No, I'm just kidding. You want to ask as it pertains to kids, parents. Craig, I'm going to have to mute you, buddy. Whoa. Where's everybody going?
We lost everybody.
So again, like I posted our first comment. Hello, we're all back. Sort of. So I posted on there, please be patient with our tech stuff, okay? This is all unprecedented. In fact, we got a warning from our streamer saying there's so much live stream happening that you can probably expect your stream to be choppy or delayed. So if that happens, it's not us. It's everyone else, okay? Just saying that, not out there. Okay, so we're going to talk about parenting. The fun times that we're going to have to do. Here's the first question, folks. Okay, first question. What is the most important thing to say in the middle of a hug?
Wait, say that again?
What is the most important thing to say in the middle of a hug?
Like hugging who?
Doesn't matter. That's kind of, it doesn't matter. You decide.
Say, get off me, it's COVID-19.
Okay, Chris and Joan.
If you're me, nothing. Zero risk. I'm not going to embarrass myself, her, or do anything stupid. Just let her have the hug. Just be there. Be my strong, cuddly teddy bear self.
That's a good answer.
And unfortunately, I tend to say something.
Yeah. if we're hugging our children, then it's always "I love you." No doubt, I
There you go.
love you.
How about Craig and Linda? What would you say in the middle of a hug if you were hugging each other?
Linda, nothing else correct to say.
Safe
But if I'm
answer.
hugging my 9-year-old, it's don't tickle. That's the way we roll.
I've been telling my kids when I hug them or ride bikes or something with them that I'm really glad that I don't have to be 6 feet from them.
Good. That's real good. How about Brian and Lisa?
Probably that you're the best.
Aw.
Nice.
For one. Good job.
For one.
For one.
I know what she says. Hug me. Because usually my hugs are like this.
Oh, he does like that.
And you're like, come on,
Yeah.
hug me.
Wow.
Anywho. So, hey, let's just jump right into this, okay? So again, if you're watching live, feel free, comments, questions. Chris and I are moderating the comments on there so we can see what you're saying. So behave. Just like here's the first question I want to ask all of us. We're all going to engage in this. Is like, how are you handling this season as mom and dad?
Nobody wants to answer that one.
Notice I didn't say rank yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. How are you doing?
I would probably say like a 3 or a 4. It feels like, I don't know. It's stressful. I think that we take everything day by day. Mostly because one kid wakes up at 3:30 in the morning and then doesn't go back to bed, and then the next day they all sleep in. So it's a hit or miss. Yeah.
That's not a good beginning.
No.
I think just remembering too, like, if I'm stressed out or if we're stressed out, more than likely our kids are going to have the same reactions throughout the day. And, you know, we went through a couple of days of that and had some not fun times. And then we're just like, you know what, our mindset is like more important now than ever. And if we try to find joy or if we try to find good things to do or find out of a day, like it's rubbing off a lot on them. So just remembering that we're like the gauge of how the day is going to go, which is a lot of pressure on a parent. And sometimes I feel like I'm not grown up enough to like have all that pressure, but you know, and trying to be kind of like honest enough with them about what's going on, but not, you know, too much to the point where it's that scary for them because they don't need to know that.
I think we're just doing the best that we can. And I was, you know, my daughter who's 6, so Shiloh is 6, Andrew is 2. And I, you know, explained to her what's going on. But I said, how are you feeling? Do you want to go back to school? And she's like, no, this is the best. So she's having the time of her life.
Well, they don't say that.
But I mean, I think like she knows what's happening a little bit in the world, but we're just doing the best we can. And just, you know, Chris is working from home. I'm working outside the home, but you know, we're trying to just kind of keep it light and fun, I guess, right? As much as we can. We try to do, get together with the family and do family meetings to kind of check in with everybody.
How are the Nixons doing?
Our family, our homebodies also. And so they're like having a wonderful time. Like I was checking up with Dr. saying, how are you? And she's delighted. She loves having big brother and big sister home from college and it's a party. So not always a party, but in her eyes, she's loving it. She's really, really enjoying it.
Sweet. How are we doing?
Well, I know I personally have never felt more manic before. The ups and downs, like, you know, there's just like, I'm like, this is crazy. I'm going crazy. And then the next one I was like, well, isn't that a sweet moment with the kids or whatever? You know, so, you know, he's probably like, are we good? Are we bad? Like, I'm like, both, yes, and what? Yeah. So it's just a whole different. I mean, you just don't have that breathing room, and so it's just like I feel like I'm up and down every day. But I try really hard when I wake up to just like do what I can. But it goes down pretty quick, and then it will go back up, and I don't know. So
Yeah. It's definitely hard. It's like even hard to like try to answer like when someone says, "Well, how are you doing?" And it's like, I think I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I am good. Am I? It's like,
Yes.
with that, right? But
I told the kids that too. Like when all this was starting to happen, it just was a good thing to remind them that like we've never gone through this ourselves, like as kids or parents. So just letting them know that like this is a practice run for us too. I mean, we've never homeschooled kids before, or worked from home and homeschooled, or been quarantined. So it's just a good reminder to them that we're also figuring it out. I think sometimes kids think we have it all like known already, and this is just a time with so many unknowns, and I think it's tricky.
Yeah, absolutely. Say it completely lapsed in my head to have you introduce yourself. So why don't we do this? Introduce yourself, and then tell us how many kids you have, names, and the age of your kiddos that you have at home. So, Brandon, Carissa, we have three
about
kids.
give or take.
We're down to 2.5 right now. But yeah, we got 3 kids, 11, 8, and 4.
Nice job. Yep, Cora, Braden, and Addie.
Yeah. Chris and Joan, how about you guys?
All right, Chris and Joan Jang here. We have Shiloh, age 6, and then Andrew, age 2. Grandma, age 81. Harmon is there, 30 and 26, and Mr. Barrow at 31 himself.
That's our household.
Wow, I love
My
it.
goodness. Craig and Linda, how about you guys?
So Craig and Linda Nix, and we've got 4 kids that are 21, 19, 15, and 9. So we thought we had 2 of them out of the house in college, and now they're back. So we're figuring it out.
So Rachel, Will, Caroline, and Emily.
All right. Brian and Lisa?
We have 2 children, Ella and Oliver. Ella's 11. She's preteen. She's going on like 14, I think. And Oliver is 8, 9. And both of our children have ADHD. And so sometimes it feels like there's like 12 people in this house. Oliver has got that impulsivity, the hyperactivity, literally swinging from the ceiling at a given moment. And then our daughter has the other type. Here they come now. And so it's just a lot of fun to manage all of that in our house.
They're right there.
Eric, Sarah?
Yeah, we're Eric and Sarah Jordan. We've got 2 children. Miles is 10 and Ava just turned 8. So one of the things, she actually just had her birthday a couple weeks ago, and so had to cancel the party and everything. So I mean, she's been a trooper through all of this for sure.
Yeah, that's hard. Oh.
Yeah.
So let's just open up and be a little vulnerable with our audience. What has been probably for you the biggest challenge in parenting in this season?
I think
I'll say that. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Awesome. I think it's dealing with a couple. One is this is really hard, and that's okay that it's hard. Instead of feeling the guilt that, well, we don't have it as bad as some people, right? Like it could be a lot worse. And so just acknowledging to our children, us that yes, this is really difficult, and it's okay that it's difficult. And the other piece is that our children are really experiencing, and we are too, like that, like grief, right? Like we're grieving the loss of community, loss of routine, and all of those things that help us regulate as humans, particularly our kids. And that's that looks differently for everyone. And hearing what they're saying when they're having an outburst, when they're yelling, when they're mad that they have to do something else, or when they're wanting to watch a million videos, right? That's all a process of grief. And like, instead of reacting to that from an emotional, like, you're not obeying me, you're not respecting me, but acknowledging like, oh, you're really dealing with a big situation here. And that I think is really hard to remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. What has been a big struggle or something that's been really hard for you guys, Eric and Sarah?
Well, I think just as two people who, are on the run a lot, busy and usually, I think one of the biggest struggles, maybe where we've kind of been failing, is just the communication. I mean, we're actually closer in proximity to each other every day. And yet, because there's another thing on our plate, mostly her plate, right, is, I think the communication can break down very easily.
Yeah.
Yeah. My challenge at first was, I am a doer, and like, this sounds really crazy, but when I first started my photography business, Ava was like a tiny baby and Miles was in preschool, and I had very limited childcare. So I had to get so much done with so many distractions, and he was gone a lot during those times. And it was kind of a weird trauma that I didn't realize was sort of a trauma. And then the first week of this stuff, it just brought all that back, because I'm like, I still have to work full time, and there's kids here, and it was, and I thought I had to be like homeschool awesome girl and all that stuff. And then just, there's a lot of good stuff going around the internet. There's a lot of bad stuff, but there's a lot of good stuff that's just about always pick the relationship first. Like, the relationship is way more important than any school agenda on any day, especially during this time, And I think I remembered that. And on our really, really bad day, one of our kids just kind of lost it. And I just I came straight downstairs and I said, okay, we're done. You're done with school for the day. Nothing's worth this. We went on a bike ride. We just stopped, because for the months that they're out of school, more damage can be done if we're trying to do perfection. Right. So that's been my thing, but also stepping into a slower pace is something I've wanted for so long. And I think it literally took this to shock us. And I'm seeing really good things from it so far. And so I've just kind of let it happen now, which is hard for me, but it's good.
Yeah. Greg, you were going to say something before you rudely interrupted Lisa. What was it?
I think for me, I feel real fortunate that, one, we've homeschooled most of our kids, at least a little bit. So that's an easy transition for her. I've been able to continue work. So I feel real fortunate, and my job allows me to work from home anyway. I don't a lot, but it's pretty easy. So I felt like that was going to be this whole transition would be something I could manage pretty well. And then all of a sudden I just find myself blowing up. Sarah talks about her kids blowing up, and it was me. Just patience, thinking things were fine, but all of a sudden, after a few days of limited space and someone always in your business, a little house with all these people running around, it just, I realized that my patience was getting stretched, and so I think for me that's been the biggest challenge is being patient with my kids. And the nice thing is my kids have been, when I tell them I'm sorry and I confess that I've not been very nice, they're really good about giving me a big hug. And my older kids even acknowledge the fact that, Dad, that's good, I'm proud of you for so, they don't let me slide with it, so it's been good.
That's awesome. James?
Oh, we have no problems. It's schedule, readjusting our schedule, because work from home a lot anyway. So I'm kind of getting used to those constant interruptions, but kind of have always dealt with those since my daughter was born in 2014. So working from home and living with the interruption was something that I actually thought I was used to. And then, my son was born, and then I had to get used to it all over again because it took it up a notch. And for some reason, my kids always want to play with me. They know where I am. If I'm in the bathroom, they want to play with me. If I'm outside, whatever I'm doing, they can find me. It's like this weird magnetic thing that's going on. There's this incredible mystery. I could be as quiet or as sneaky as possible, and they always find me. There is no respite. Shiloh stops napping. If they nap at different times. So they're always coming after me. And with that, it's just a lot of grace. Because my frustration was okay, well, if everybody's home, maybe I got a little more help. And so setting that expectation, creating it for myself, and then almost imposing it as a responsibility to others was something that I struggled with early on. And so God helped me through that. And what we learn more and more is that it just takes a tremendous grace, unbelievable grace, amazing grace every single day with every single person and every single dynamic. Obviously, we have 8 people living here. So working within that dynamic, it just takes grace. You have to learn how to live with everybody again at different times, different scenarios. You have 5 cooks cooking their own meals in the kitchen. It's kind of funny because there's different diets, but Joan finally has people that eat vegetables now. So Joan has a vegetable buddy, and I have a red meat buddy. So it's pretty good in that sense. But the scheduling has been our biggest problem. Communicating too, I can relate to Eric and Sarah on that. Just communicating the schedule differences instead of thinking we know automatically or you should know. It doesn't work. The communication has to be done, and for me, with grace.
Yeah. Did we struggle with that, Lee?
No, I think he has problems that actually, but I don't think we have problems. So, well, the schedule thing kind of made it click. We just assume that obviously he knows I'm busy at this time, so he needs to step in, or, I obviously know he's going live at some point, so I should, it's just, or, so when are you going to come out of the office, or,
My answer is never.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think that's probably been the biggest struggle, because I think we're all obviously feeling it. It's a new norm. It's just I don't know if maybe some of you are in it, but for me in the pastor world, it's the 8 to 5, 9 to 5 is gone. It's just that's obsolete. So now you're able to break it up. And so the first 2 weeks for us, as the lead pastor, it was panic mode for us. Oh my goodness, how are we going to get everything shifted? So it was I didn't realize I was working 14-hour days, and I would come out of the office like a zombie and give leftovers and not a whole lot left to the family, and watching the kids, find her wherever she goes. And when I come out there, I try to help, and they look at me and they run away. So it's but it's I think we actually had to sit down and configure an actual schedule between the two of us.
Yeah, I feel like each week we're getting a little bit better with that. But I think the constant or consistent thing for me, the struggle every day is just, I love our kids, but they all have needs at the exact same time when I'm doing 5 other things, and they all need help or attention at the exact same time. And so just feeling helpless in that way. And I'm just there's only one of me, there's all of you. And I have, so I think that overwhelming feeling a lot comes at me a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with all of these things now, obviously we've had a few weeks of adjusting to this. And so I would love to hear, how have we all adjusted, to this new norm, and how to parent and lead and shepherd our kiddos well, so we've been thinking through, how are we shepherding their hearts spiritually? How are we helping them think through COVID-19? How are we thinking them through all these things? And so as that dust has settled, I just want to throw up this question. Julie, she asked this question. I think it's a great question for us to answer together. It's just like, how much do our children really understand about what is going on, and how much information are we giving them? You know, so let's spend a little bit of time here just talking about how we are shepherding our kids' hearts, helping them understand what's happening in the world today. So, who would like to start out with that one?
Maybe I can share a little bit. Maybe also because I'm a nurse, and so Shiloh, our daughter, is 6, and then we have our 2-year-old. He doesn't really know what's going on. But with Shiloh, when we explain to her what's going on, and she kind of has an idea of what coronavirus is. But I think, like, we've told her that, we have to be safe, we have to be careful. But also, I think we tried not to overemphasize it to the point of, like, where it becomes a fear for her. And so she'll mention, she's like, oh, okay, we're not going out right now because there's coronavirus. And I'm like, yeah. And we went to the playground this morning and it was closed. And she's like, why is the playground closed? And I just said, well, we have to be careful. We just have to be careful touching surfaces. And she's like, okay. But I think, like, more importantly, one of the things that, like, as a nurse and even as a Chris, like, just the fact that we have to go out and serve on a regular basis, like, I think she understands that even though all of this is happening, there's still other needs that's going on in the world. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, the fact that I still have to leave and take care of other kids, like, I've always really talked to her about the other children I take care of as a nurse. And so during this time, and I don't know, maybe that's why for her, it's just, I don't know, it seems like it's been kind of an easier thing.
It's been good also because, like, we've been able to portray, like, we're doing this not necessarily for ourselves, but you're going to wash your hands a little extra, or you're going to wear this mask for the person next to you, for someone else, or for grandma, 81 years old, living upstairs, where we can take extra responsibility to make sure they are safer. At first, I was kind of like, oh man, I got to mention God every single time. I got to bring this back to, to the cross every single time. And I started forcing it a little bit. And I lost her a little bit, it just kind of went over her head. And then it became oh, here he goes again type thing. And I realized I got to step back a little bit and let God do his thing. I was trying to, control that instead of letting God and the Holy Spirit do his thing through me. So there was a little bit of back and forth with that. But ultimately, sometimes I just learned to change the direction and just start having a little bit of fun and start trying to make a little game out of certain things, like serving each other, playing restaurant. It's so much fun playing restaurant with her Barbie dolls and DC superhero things. It's really, really a good time. So.
How about the Nixons?
I did a job as far as, like, we have enforced family dinners, so we call everybody to the table no matter what's going on, and we'll eat together and then read scripture together. I think Emily picked out last night's scripture, but we're reading the Bible together, and he'll pray, and we'll have the whole family praying. And so we'll pray for the nurses, the doctors, the medical people out there, the people who are hurting, and just kind of like cover a lot of the needs out there that we feel in prayer. And so I think
it's been helpful to just remind the kids that who's out there that needs God's love in their lives, the service, that people are in need. There are people that are really hurting out there. There's been there's been a kind of a desire to encourage gratefulness during this time, because I do think my older, you asked about how do we talk to our kids about this, and my youngest daughter, I've talked to her about whether or not she's worried or anything, and she's not too much. We're kind of like you were saying, we're not giving her so much information, but then my older kids are educating me, of course. So we're hearing so much of what's negative. And so for me to be grateful, to express all that God's done for us and for our church and for our community and for just for the kids to be able to focus on that in prayer has to me been pretty big encouragement, I think, and it helps us in our prayers for others then to understand that there are needs.
Yeah.
And I think it's really helping their hearts understand that a little bit.
Totally. How about you guys, Eric and Sarah?
We've kept it reasonably light. I think I'm one of those people who I don't watch much news anyway, just because not because I'm ignorant, but because life is sometimes heavy enough that sometimes I don't want to go there. And so every now and then I'll kind of check the cases and like where Texas is at and stuff like that, just to kind of know. But for me, like knowing everything would increase my anxiousness a lot. So I kind of, and I think we just kind of take that route with the kid. I mean, they know that people are sick and they know that people are dying and they know that our job is to stay home now so that it cuts, out a lot of the spread. But like the other day I had to take Ava into Home Depot with me really fast and we had to wear masks. And that was like, I mean, it's heartbreaking, like looking at my little the mask on. And, I just remind the kids that like, this is the most interesting time and there's a lot of bad things happening, but there's a lot of good that's coming out of it. And that's kind of how we leave it right now anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I know early on for us, we were, roughing it at the beach house the first week. We had a trip planned during spring. We were like either be quarantined here or be quarantined in that house on the beach. We chose the beach for sure. But like, even in that time, like it was hard because I think some of our oldest two were a little panicky.
Well, and yeah, initially we were both playing it like, people need to calm down. It's not that bad, whatever. And then they come home from school and be like, we're all going to die today. And, we're like over here like, okay, people need to chill out. And then, so they were hearing all of these false things, from their friends that they heard from their parents. They probably didn't say it that way. And so, it kind of got a little bit crazy. So we're like, so we had a couple sit down meetings as a family to like, let's define what this is. And so we kind of came from like, everything's fine to like, okay, maybe it's, so we had to have an ongoing discussion because then, then we're like, okay, I don't know if we should do this anymore, and they're like, why? Everything's cool, and we're like, no, not anymore, but, and so just trying to like, kind of like keep them in the middle of, not blowing it off, but, not creating more fear by talking too much about how.
Yeah. We spent, just like talking through, a lot of the stories that I even shared with the church about like Jesus walking on the water, like thinking that through like, hey, if we focus on all the things around us, we'll feel like we're sinking and drowning. But Jesus is in control. He's our anchor. And just even just walking through Psalm 41, I've been doing that with our oldest, kind of like, the oceans or the hills be removed and all this stuff, and be still and know that I am God. It's like, he's got this. And it's been kind of cool because like our kiddos, they've been responding in a really sweet way to the Holy Spirit in this season. And so it's been really kind of a cool little blessing. Which is kind of a segue question actually to what I wanted to ask as we kind of wrap this up is what has been a bit of a sneaky blessing to you guys as parents in this season?
One thing I love is catching our high schooler in an online chat Bible study that we didn't even know she was doing. So she just had some friends that got together and decided they wanted to start a Bible study. So just love that. It was a fun surprise to see. And then she had, do you want to tell the other story?
Yeah, and then just a couple of days ago, she had one of the kids on her wrestling team was texting her and asking. He knew that she was a Christian, and he was starting to ask questions. Why do you believe what you believe, and giving her a chance to really basically share the gospel with him. And all. And to me, these are the types of conversations that are just awesome to see. God's opening up that probably wouldn't have happened just with life going on as usual. So it's really given some neat opportunities and blessings, I think, to see that for sure.
It's I think one of the blessings that we've seen first is that it's nice not to have to rush out of the house, everyone on time, everyone with their shoes. My son can watch church in his PJs, lounging all over the floor. So that's been kind of nice, but also to see my oldest daughter choose to play with my son, that's been kind of nice, and giving her like this gift of an extended childhood, right? Because she would say she's basically a teenager, but to hear her playing with the cars and to hear her doing the things, and that it's not all just her being annoyed with him, that's been nice. It's kind of been fun to be working here. This is where I work most of the day, that one of the kids will lay on the bed behind me and read or play, or just to be next to each other while we're both working.
Yeah, I would agree. Just like Eric said, I think just in proximity, we're all a lot closer now, and we've been given the gift of time. We don't have to worry about commutes or the stress of that. So I think when we can wrap up the day, we have found a lot more time as a family to go on a walk or go ride bikes, or pull a game out of the closet. We probably haven't pulled out of the closet in a long time. And I think that in that, it has developed deeper conversations with our kids just about all kinds of various topics that I don't think probably would have happened in a normal scenario when we're trying to address homework and rushing from this practice or who's going to shirt today. So that's been, I think, extremely helpful for us.
I think our surprise is watching our kids kind of realize that they're not just siblings; they can actually be friends and like each other. Like it's been like there's been little pockets of time where we're like, is this really happening? It's really been a fun surprise. And just the little moments, like you said, Brian, about like just hopping on the bikes together, or there's just been a lot more small one-on-one moments, and I think it's reminding me how important it is to take each kid by themselves, with a parent, because especially when we're all together, just getting away, even if it's just 2 and 2, makes such a big difference. And I think the kids really feel like poured into, they're happier with the other child when they get home.
Yeah, true.
I think for us, like, I know we've talked about this a little bit, but it's been such a blessing that there's the 2 of us, and we live with my mother-in-law, Chris's mom, and we have 3 friends who also live with us, a married couple and another gentleman. And this was all before all this happened. And it's just been such a blessing for our children, because like you said, there's like multiple adults who, are in the home who are like really pouring into them at this time and helping us with them. And we've talked about it a couple times. Chris has done like family meetings where we do like prayer and worship time, and we've been putting it on Zoom for anybody to join us.
Awesome.
But yeah, it feels like we've talked about it. Like, it feels like maybe what the early church would be like share groceries, childcare, cars sometimes. And people just kind of pitch in whenever it's needed. And so that's been such a huge blessing. I know for me, like, if we didn't have that situation right now, this would be a lot more difficult.
I want to come live with you guys right now. That sounds.
I know. I have lots of obstacles. No, yeah.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Being able to connect and like
jumping on early with Zoom and, reaching out with that connection and teaching some of our friends and family early on in our small group to just stay connected and get on. And for us to do it, we had to pick several nights. And so we picked every night that I was supposed to be working, we picked the time, let's just do a family worship night. And now it's getting filled up. We get Mary Ellen on Monday nights, and then, all the guys that live here are all serving. So there's this foundation of faith. So everything we do is centered around God. So everything my children are involved in is going to be led by someone who's centered in Christ. And so that's a big difference and a great comfort through all the interesting relational dynamics, but also reaching out to some of the people that, we would never have been able to invite them to church successfully, I should say. But they're joining us on Zoom just to check in, say hi. They even share a prayer request with us. We're able to pray with them. Taught one person to pray late night. He's back in California. I think he told me it was like one of his first authentic prayers. So that was a very cool moment. And I knew him because he knew his daughter used to play with my daughter. So them seeing Shiloh doing pretty well and seeing some pictures of her worshiping, because we took some videos of her playing with bubbles while Mary Ellen was singing praises, hymns, and spiritual songs. And so he's like, hey, I want to do that with my daughter, or maybe she could at least hear some of that encouragement. So I got a chance to talk with him thanks to that night. And so those things are spurring from, the joy that my daughter has of staying home all the time.
What are some? Go ahead, Donnie.
Oh, well, I mean, just sort of adding on. There's a lot more opportunities for time to talk about God and bring God into the day together. So, just even putting on the calendar a couple of Devo times together to, I just think that's so cool. And also, very important, I'm getting my dishwasher unloaded and my kitchen clean almost every night now. Not
very good.
No. I'm praising God that I don't feel guilty with you.
Everything's great. I mean, they're not doing, it the way I'd want, but it is done. Hard work in this time.
That's awesome.
Fair.
We're working on him, but he. Again.
How about you guys, Craig and Linda? What are some of the blessings you've experienced in this season?
Well, we were just talking about Caroline and the fact that she's had a chance to share with a friend. We're there.
He answered.
Well, I'll add to that. One thing that I really love is the family prayer time. It's really sweet to hear everybody prayer and to hear everyone praying and to hear their heart. Yeah. It makes my heart happy.
Yeah, that's sweet. Okay, so I want to try to challenge everybody to try to make something very succinct, even though I know it's bigger than what I'm going to ask you. What is one thing that God is teaching you that you can encourage other people with right now in this season? And I know that's tough because I know we want to get let's expand on that. But in terms of the conversation we had earlier about the struggles, how hard it is to adjust to the new norm, to even now recognizing, it's tough. It's been tough, but yet there's a lot of good and blessings in it. So what is the Lord teaching you in this season that could encourage us?
I think first off for me that I'm not the answer. I can't fix all of my wife's problems, anxiety. I can't fix Shiloh and her relationship with mommy or her relationship with grandma. I can't fix grandma and daughter-in-law and all that stuff. I can't fix it. But if I open myself up to God, then he can give me more grace to speak into it. So it's just a matter of me not speaking out of my own self and just being patient with that. And again, it's like I always tell Shiloh, you got to listen. Every problem that you have stems from not listening to daddy. But no, but the reality is Now it's just listen. And it became a lesson to myself. Stop trying to fix it. Listen, listen, listen. It's the harder path. It's the more gracious path. And it's also a path that helps me listen to him more. And so if I can exemplify that, I feel like it can trickle down. So that's one of the things he taught me again. This is not the first time he's had to teach me this, but everybody being home has really pushed it to the forefront that I'm still not listening to him enough.
I feel like one thing that God's teaching me is to take courage. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to be scared when you go to the grocery store. I'm about to go to the grocery store again. We're good on groceries, but we have elderly neighbors who are really sick. And so I'm heading to the grocery store for them. And it's okay. Pray before you go. Be very careful. And it's okay to be scared. Be courageous. Take care of people.
That's good. That's really good.
No, I agree with that. I struggle a lot with anxiety. So, we joke around a lot, but that's a big struggle for me, and being out, being exposed. But teaching me, like you said, it's okay to be scared, but you can still serve.
Yeah.
That even through that, and through prayer and pray, honestly, like others praying for us, for each other, there's still a lot that you can do in the midst of that.
Yeah.
There's been just like this one moment, I think it was like a couple of weeks ago, where I kind of talk about how I struggle with patience and just being like always kind with my kids. I mean, I love them to death, but I need my space, and so I'll just just be abrupt with them or say something. And so our oldest, Cora, and I sometimes, because she's kind of in that tween years, right, Lisa?
Yeah, it's real.
Like, yeah, the relationship gets pretty real sometimes. And I wasn't the most perfect mother at that time, but it was later that evening where I really feel like I just blew it. Like, I'm like, I could have handled that so much better. And then that night, she's like, Mom, I would love to just, sometime when this is over, if you and I could just go, maybe go to a hotel and just have a girl time, and we go to dinner. Oh, that would be so fun, just you and me. And I kind of looked at her like, do you want to be with me? Like you feel loved and safe enough to ask me that? And so that was just, I feel like God has opened my eyes, and this is for, I think, every parent that blows it, that has, how do you blow it, a lot more often now because you're together more. But just this realization of like, our main goal is to love our kids and to make them feel safe. And I felt like God was just whispering to me, like, she feels safe. She feels loved. You're not injuring her in the long run when you make a mistake one day. Like, she feels safe. You've done your job. You're doing your job, even though it's not a perfect job. It's something, that big thing is happening. So I don't know. I hope that encourages other parents. Sometimes I just, like, okay, now she's, I've
ruined for life.
Her spirit's broken, and
because that's what she says, right? She's a tween. That's what she says.
Yeah.
Right? That's what our tween says.
Yeah.
She never wanted to see us again for the rest of her life yesterday. Screamed it and then slammed the door and threw herself across the bed, right? Because we were asking her to do something. So she blows it and then we blow it.
Yeah.
Right? And we catch those emotions.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then you just apologize, reset. But knowing that she knows that she's loved, and so that's the big reminder.
That's good. How about the rest of you before we head off?
I think I might just mention, social media can be great and helpful, like in this situation, but it can also be the flip opposite side. When a lot of this stuff started happening, there's lots of posts about people that are being so successful with homeschooling, or people that are, you should teach your kids how to change the tire, how to change the oil, do all these things now. I'm like, well, we don't have time. As many of us were all working, and I had this feeling that I had to be the perfect person, the perfect parent in this moment, but I'm not. And, so it's nice to kind of take that step back and realize I don't need to be comparing myself to everybody else. I just need to do what I need to do, what's the best for, I think, our family, and that's okay. And that's been kind of the nice relieving part in it, is allowing yourself that freedom to say that that's okay. I don't have to strive to be just like, excuse me, everybody else in this scenario. And I think it's, I think he's helping show us to be a lot more present in our daily lives. Again, just going back to the proximity thing, we each have to help each other out. We have to be partners in this scenario. So if one kid is throwing the fit, we've been, I think, pretty good about stepping in and tag team in, tag team out, and helping flip that scenario so that the stress doesn't get too big. So I think that noticing what our other partner is going through, and then trying to help or just even saying, what can I do to help out right now? I think has been being able to show us, be present, be here now as much as you can. So,
that's good.
I think for me, it's like slowing down and being still enough to feel what's going on. And on the days like where it's okay not to be okay sometimes, because this is all really heavy, and there's so much uncertainty. Like, when are we coming out of this quarantine? Like, what's the next 3 months going to look like? And we've got some big life changes happening too. And it's just like all of it. God's got it all, and just trying to teach the kids that too, that like, we're going to figure this out as we go. Right. It's literally as we go, because every 2 weeks it seems to be changing. And I think I think these kids are going to come out of this with a lot of life skills that maybe would have been, probably a little more sleep and a lot more life skills that maybe wouldn't have happened before.
Changing.
No, not changing.
Yeah.
Laundry. They are going to know how to do laundry.
For me, I think more on parenting, what God is teaching me and giving me a ton of practice on right now is just walking the line between, especially with the relationship with my son, is walking the line between motivator and encourager. Because there are things that you're expecting them to do, and at the same time, though, this is all new and things are going on, and they're not sure what's going on. So, being able to walk that line that well.
Yeah, and I think what God's been teaching me is just the idea of gratitude. I think it's the one thing that kind of keeps me grounded, just in recognizing His goodness and His grace in the midst of it all. So if there's any one thing, I think that's kind of where I'd land with there.
Yeah.
I love talking to the kids about just God's attributes, how God is sovereign. God is in control, even when we don't understand, even when it's scary. God is trustworthy. We can trust Him.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a cheater, right? Because I'm preaching messages, and it tends to be the message that I preach is the message that the Lord needs to teach me. So, like, for me, it's two things. One, it was a little bit what I said the last 3 weeks was that Psalm 41, be still and know that I am God. Like, it's the next verse that hits me. It's like, I will be exalted in all the nations. And it's just like, the Lord hit the pause button on the world in a lot of ways. It's like, here it is. I will be exalted. Like, let me take away everything that you think you need in this life. This is. But the other thing that is hitting me is, without giving away too much of Easter's message, is really how the world is bowing the knee to death. For like, that sounds kind of grim, but it's like death is tending to be the most influential factor in this world. Like, we're making a lot of decisions based on it, and rightly we should. But at the same time, it's like there is no death with Jesus. It's just a transition.
Yeah.
And so it reminds me a little bit about again, I'm not going to spoil everything, but on Easter, like when. No, I'm not going to say. You're just going to have to wait. Because otherwise I will get the whole
teaser
right now.
Yeah.
So we don't want to do that. But really, God is sovereign, and He is the resurrection. Right? He is the resurrection. The resurrection isn't an event, it's a person. It's Him. And just with Him, there is no death. There is no get grave. There is none of that with Him. So that's just been really encouraging and just really going, okay, do I really believe that? Like He asked Martha, did I not tell you that if you believe, you would see the glory of God? And you're like, wait a second, do I really believe that? You know, so it's been a really good thing in my heart. But hey, thank you guys for coming in. Really, really appreciate your time and giving up this time. And I know, in fact, you know, just being a parent and understanding this is right on the verge of getting kids ready for bed, unless Joan, because that's around midnight for them. I know we got kids.
Chris is like,
you know, getting ready and doing things. So thank you for giving your time and being vulnerable and gracious with the church and whoever else is going to watch this. And we know there will be other people watching this besides live right now. And so thank you, really, thank you so much for doing this. Hey, for the rest of you guys that are online, again, please go ahead and share your story. Go to our YouTube channel, find the instructions how to do that. And we would love to see you on Easter. Online, we got a few services there, and invite friends and family, because I'm telling you right now that more people are going to be more prone to wanting to check out church versus coming into a church building. This could be a very powerful week. And specifically, when you think about what's being said, that these 2 weeks are going to be the hardest and probably darkest 2 weeks with the coronavirus, this is also Easter week. So that's why this whole message of He is the resurrection and the life is so vital in this time. I believe to my core, God's going to do something big. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you, guests. Love you guys. You guys hang on. I'm going to take us offline, but I want to say something to you guys afterwards. So, all right, be blessed. Have a great week. Love you, church.